What if I told you the smartest way to destroy toxic people is to say absolutely nothing? No revenge plan, no dramatic exit, no emotional outburst, just stillness, control, presence. Because the moment you react, they win. The moment you explain, defend, or argue, you've already handed over your power. You're not here to play their game. You're here to make them realize they were never even on your level. You see, the most dangerous person in any room isn't loud. They don't argue, they don't flinch. They observe, calculate, and walk away untouched. That's silence as dominance, stillness as psychological warfare. And the toxic ones, they can't handle it. They need a reaction like fire needs air. Cut that off, and they suffocate. That's the move. That's the play. If you're ready to stop giving away your energy to people who don't deserve your presence, comment right now, "My silence is strategy." This is Stoic Spark, and this is where you become untouchable. Number 1, the trap they walk into. Toxic people don't want peace. They want control. Not peace of mind, not resolution, just the ability to influence how you feel, how you think, and how you react. That's the game, and most people lose because they try to talk their way out of manipulation. You explain yourself, you defend your name, you react, you argue, you break, and every word you speak becomes a thread they pull on. But here's what they never see coming: someone who doesn't bite, someone who gives them nothing to grab. No reaction, no emotion, no explanation. Silence is not weakness, it's a trap, and they walk straight into it. Because toxic people are addicted to attention. If you're not feeding them energy, they starve. They'll escalate. They'll test your boundaries. They'll try kindness, guilt, blame, even fake vulnerability, all to hook you back into the cycle. But once you've mastered inner stillness, you become unreadable. They can't provoke what they can't access. And that's what breaks them. They don't know what you're thinking. They don't know if you're planning something or simply done. The silence drives them mad, because in silence, you hold the power. You become the mystery, the mirror they can't crack, the game they can't win. So remember, you don't have to scream to be powerful. You don't need revenge to win. You just need to stop letting broken people shape your mind. Comment this to lock it in: "I feed chaos nothing." And stay sharp, because next I'll show you why silence doesn't just protect you, it dominates. Number 2, why silence feels like power. Silence isn't just the absence of noise, it's the presence of control. The moment you stop reacting, you start watching. And when you're watching, you're learning. Silence creates space for clarity, for strength, for dominance. Here's what you need to understand. Every time you stay silent in the face of manipulation, you send a signal, not to them, to yourself. You're proving that you are no longer a slave to emotion. You're not pulled by drama or guilt or someone else's chaos. You're anchored. That's power. Not the loud kind that needs recognition, the kind that doesn't need to prove a thing, the kind that's rooted so deeply it becomes untouchable. Toxic people thrive on seeing you rattle. When you go silent, they don't know if they've won or if you're 2 steps ahead. And that confusion, that uncertainty, that's dominance. Stoicism isn't passive, it's precise. It's the ability to control your inner world so tightly, no external force can bend it. While they're busy exploding, you're evolving. Think about this. In war, the most dangerous move is the one no one sees coming. Silence is that move. It creates doubt. It creates fear. It creates presence. You don't even have to win the argument. You just remove yourself from the battlefield entirely and let them fight the echo of their own manipulation. That's how you control the frame. That's how you shift the power dynamic without a single word. If this hit different, comment, "My stillness is strength." Next, I'll show you how to weaponize boundaries without ever raising your voice. Number 3, the power of invisible boundaries. Real boundaries aren't lines you shout about. They're lines you never explain because they're enforced, not negotiated. The most powerful boundaries are invisible, unspoken, cold, clear. Toxic people test limits. It's how they measure your weakness. They push inch by inch, looking for signs that you'll bend. They don't respect words, they respect consequences. So here's the shift. You stop announcing your standards and start living them. You don't say, "Don't talk to me like that." You end the conversation. You don't warn them to respect your time. You become unavailable. You don't argue about what you deserve. You walk like someone who already knows. That's the power of invisible boundaries. They confuse manipulators because they can't find the edge. They don't know where you stand until it's too late. And by the time they realize it, they're already on the outside. Your silence becomes a wall they can't climb. Your lack of reaction becomes a signal, "You're not worth my energy." No drama, no speeches, just detachment with discipline. You don't defend your decisions. You embody them, and in that stillness, you train others how to treat you without saying a single word. So the next time someone crosses a line, don't raise your voice. Raise your standards. Don't tell them they've lost access. Show them what it feels like. Comment this to anchor the mindset. I don't explain my value. Up next, how to master emotional invisibility. The art of being present but unreachable. Number 4, emotional invisibility. You want to become truly untouchable? Then stop handing people a map to your emotions. Toxic people don't need strength to break you. They just need access. Access to your moods, your fears, your tells. Most people walk around emotionally naked, wearing every thought, every wound, every trigger on their sleeves. And manipulators, they read you like a manual. That ends here. Emotional invisibility isn't about being numb. It's about being selectively seen. You show what you choose when you choose. And everything else, you keep locked in silence. They can't hurt what they can't read. They can't twist what they can't see. When you walk into a room, your power should be felt. But your emotions should be invisible. This doesn't mean you suppress. It means you control the narrative. If they're expecting anger, you give calm. If they're looking for guilt, you give indifference. If they want attention, you give distance. It rattles them because they don't know what game you're playing. And more importantly, they don't know if you're playing at all. Mastering emotional invisibility is the difference between being reactive and being dominant. You don't flinch, you don't explain, you observe, adapt, and decide quietly. And when they try to pull you into chaos, you become the mirror that reflects nothing back. That's how you win. Calm, cold, unreachable. Comment this now if you feel it. Control is earned in silence. In the next part, I'll show you how to make your absence louder than their noise. Number 5, the power of strategic absence. Spoken script begins here. Sometimes the loudest message you can send is to remove yourself. Not with drama, not with a warning, just silence and space. See, toxic people feed on attention. They crave presence because it gives them an audience. It gives them control, even if it's just through conflict, tension, or fake closeness. So what happens when you take that away? What happens when you vanish? Strategically, they spiral because your absence speaks. It says, you are not a priority. You have no power here. I choose peace over performance. Strategic absence isn't running away. It's withholding your energy as a form of dominance. You're not avoiding, you're positioning. You're saying, I am no longer accessible to what drains me. And this move, it forces them to confront themselves without your reaction to shield them from the mirror. Suddenly, they're shouting into an empty room, performing for a ghost, trying to manipulate someone who's no longer even watching. Your silence becomes their punishment. Not by design, but by default, because when you choose distance, you starve dysfunction. You kill the drama without ever raising your voice. You win without ever entering the ring. Toxic people expect a fight. Give them emptiness. Give them the sound of their own echo. Let them feel your absence. Let it haunt them. Let it remind them that once they lose access to your mind, they lose everything. Comment this to make it yours. I withdraw to win. Number 6. Rewiring the inner voice. The most toxic voice you'll ever hear is the one inside your own head. If you don't train it, it doesn't matter how calm you act on the outside. If your inner dialogue is still built on self-doubt, guilt or fear, that's where they win, not out there, in here. Because if they can't control your behavior, they'll try to control your beliefs. And they do it subtly, planting seeds that make you question yourself. Was I overreacting? Maybe I'm too sensitive. Maybe I deserved that. Number that voice isn't yours. It was installed, and now it's time to uninstall it. Here's the move. You become the architect of your own inner world. You rewrite your mental script, word by word, from reactive to deliberate, from self-blame to self-command. You train that voice to say, I don't chase chaos. I owe no one my peace. If it costs me clarity, it's too expensive. Because when your mind becomes your ally, manipulation dies on arrival. Toxic people thrive when you second-guess yourself, so stop asking for permission to protect your energy. Stop waiting to be understood. Stop needing validation from people you wouldn't even trust with your peace. Let your mind become a fortress. One where only truth lives. Only strength, only clarity. That's how you become immune. So ask yourself, is your inner voice defending your peace or negotiating it? If you're ready to rewire it, comment now, I control the voice within. Number 7, the cold presence effect. You don't need to speak to dominate a room. You just need to own your presence. There's a kind of power that doesn't move, doesn't flinch, doesn't explain. It just exists, calm, cold, and undeniable. That's cold presence. It's what happens when your energy enters before your voice does. When you walk in and people feel something shift. Not because you're loud, but because you're centered. No nervous fidgeting, no fake smiles, no need to prove, perform, or please. Just total command over your body, your mind, and your focus. Toxic people can't operate in that energy. They thrive on chaos, confusion, emotional noise. But cold presence, it's like static to their signal. They don't know where you stand. They can't read your emotional frequency, and that unnerves them. You become unreadable, and unreadable means uncontrollable. So how do you build it? You slow down your movements. You watch more than you speak. You speak only when it's intentional. And when you do, your voice is measured, never rushed, never reactive. You don't perform confidence. You embody stillness. Because real strength doesn't need to announce itself. It's felt, it's recognized, and it shifts the balance of power without a single word. Cold presence makes you unforgettable, not because you tried, but because you didn't. So the next time you walk into a room, don't chase attention. Let the silence do the talking. Comment this now to lock it in. My stillness speaks volumes. Next, we go deeper into the art of psychological mirroring, how to reflect their tactics back without ever stooping to their level. Number 8, mastering psychological mirroring. You don't always need to fight toxic people. You don't need to confront them, argue with them, or even expose them. Sometimes the most devastating thing you can do is simply reflect them. That's called psychological mirroring, and it's one of the most precise tools in your arsenal. Understand this: toxic people rely on imbalance. They project chaos, and they expect you to absorb it. They throw fire, and they expect you to burn, react, explode, or fold. But what happens when you hold up a mirror instead? No reaction, no defense, just silence and reflection. They interrupt you. You pause. Let the silence stretch. Let them hear their own lack of discipline. And in that silence, you gain control. They lie. You don't call it out. You don't rage. You don't try to prove them wrong. You hold eye contact. You stay silent and let the weight of the lie hang in the air. Suddenly, the spotlight isn't on their words. It's on their motives. They try to bait you emotionally, to guilt trip, manipulate, provoke. But instead of snapping, you shift tone. Your voice drops, your pace slows, emotion vanishes from your face. You mirror their energy minus the chaos, not to match them, but to reflect them. This isn't a game of mimicry, it's a mental mirror, calculated, cold, composed. You become their shadow, but stripped of reaction. And that's what unsettles them, because they expect you to fight. They expect confusion, desperation, emotional collapse. Instead, they're looking into a reflection of themselves and realizing they don't like what they see. You didn't yell, you didn't play victim, you didn't even engage, you just made them feel their own tactics. And that's where your power sharpens. Because here's the truth, toxic people aren't afraid of confrontation. They feed on it, they know how to spin it. But they're terrified of stillness, of being observed without being controlled. When you mirror without reaction, you send a very different signal. You don't move me. You don't get access. You're not interesting enough to disturb my peace. That's dominance. Not the loud kind, the quiet kind, the kind they can't predict or manipulate. Now here's where it gets strategic. When they escalate, you stay still. When they insult, you stay bored. When they seek a reaction, you give them reflection. Not defiance, not compliance, just presence. They push. You absorb nothing. They perform. You remain the audience, not the actor. That's what breaks them. Not because you're attacking, but because you're showing them a version of themselves stripped of control. No power, no buttons to push, no leverage. And you're not even trying to win. You've already won because you've stopped playing. This psychological approach isn't about being passive, it's about being in control of the frame. In every interaction there's a frame. Who is setting the tone? Who is reacting? Who is being observed? Toxic people rely on shifting that frame, fast, loud, messy. They want you to play defense, to chase approval, to justify yourself. But when you master mirroring, you flip the dynamic entirely. You don't defend yourself, you study them. You don't fall into emotion, you reflect their instability back at them. You show them their own games, their own manipulation, their own void. And you do it with absolute calm. And here's what makes it lethal. You never tell them what you're doing. There's no warning, no explanation, no performance. You're just there, still, alert, untouchable. They'll start to feel it before they understand it. You're no longer a participant in their chaos. You've become the silence that reveals it, and it'll drive them mad. They'll try harder, push further, escalate more dramatically. Let them, because the more noise they make, the more obvious their dysfunction becomes, and the more still you are, the more powerful your presence becomes. That's the ultimate reversal. Let them unravel themselves. You stay unmoved. This is where Stoicism and dark psychology merge into something lethal. This is where emotional intelligence becomes psychological strategy. You're not just protecting your peace, you're asserting quiet control. This is how you dominate a room without saying anything. How you crush manipulation without a single confrontation. How you leave them confused, frustrated, and powerless. And remember, this isn't revenge, it's reinforcement. You're not doing this to hurt them. You're doing this to train yourself, to master your inner world so thoroughly that no external chaos can reach it. Now, I want you to comment this below to mark the shift. I am the mirror, not the puppet. Say it. Own it. That phrase isn't just poetic, it's tactical, because puppets dance on strings. But mirrors, they reflect truth and break illusions. And that brings us to the final move, the one that ends the game forever, the exit, no noise, no warning, no closure, just silence and distance. Number 9, the exit that echoes. The smartest move is often the quietest. After all the composure, after the silence, the mirroring, the invisible boundaries, you make one final move. You leave. No speech, no explosion, no warning, just absence. Because toxic people don't fear losing you, they fear losing control over you. So when you disappear without a sound, you steal the one thing they crave: access. No more reactions. No more explaining yourself. No more standing in the same room with energy that poisons your peace. You don't need revenge. You don't need closure. You don't even need to be remembered. Your absence is the echo, and that echo will haunt them louder than anything you could have said. They'll rewind conversations in their head. They'll wonder if you're angry or indifferent or evolved. They won't get answers. Because the most powerful exit leaves no footprints, and the old version of you, the one who tolerated, explained, tried to fix, they're gone too. You didn't just walk away from them, you walked away from the pattern, and now you're untouchable. Comment this to seal it: I disappear with power. This is Stoic Spark Dash, and this was the smartest way to deal with toxic people without saying a word. Like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and remember, the strongest message is the one you never have to say.